You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the April 17th meeting of the Michigan City Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
It's 3:01. I'll call the April 17th Housing Authority meeting to order. If we all could stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Dixon, could you take the roll, please?
Yes. Chairman Benson?
Here.
Vice Chair Reyna?
Here.
Commissioner Benny?
Present.
Commissioner Connolly? Absent. Commissioner Greer? Absent. Commissioner Ross?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. So everyone had a chance to look at the minutes for the last meeting, and do you have any questions or comments?
I do. As you know, I wasn't at the last meeting, however, during the chairman's opening remarks, it was stated that Chairman Benson provided a summary of the recent meeting with HUD representatives.
Correct.
I just want to ask what that was, and was any other commissioners invited to attend, and what was the purpose of that?
I'll just briefly go over. I happened to be in Indianapolis, and I wanted to stop in and say hello to our field office team. And they invited me in to welcome me aboard as chairman and answer any questions that I had. And I had a few questions. They answered. It was basically about some of the things that we'll be doing that Ms. Dixon and I spoke about in the future. No other people were invited because it was an informal get-together and hello. Just want to make sure that we're following guidelines and keeping things with our goals here, with our goals with the federal government.
Okay. Because my understanding is HUD isn't over the board. HUD doesn't do anything as far as running our board. I can understand Ms. Dixon having a relationship and conversations and any guidelines or on the financial part of it that needs to be maintained with HUD, but I wasn't aware of that. Commissioners, bottom line is they're not over the commissioners over the board, so I was just wondering what that was about.
That's it.
Okay. And another, under the executive director's report, and it's also under the new business for those minutes, resolution 2503. Edie did share with me prior to missing that meeting that HUD had given her authorization for the capital funds to be used for rehabbing units under public housing and under Section 8?
Business activity?
Business activity. So my question is,
So just to clarify, so the approval that HUD gave was the authorization to do a sole source bid. And so the sole source was due to the extended period of length of time that the units had been vacant and due to the possible situation that we may lose capital funds. So we needed to hurry up and get those under contract. So that was what the approval from HUD was.
okay, thank you, I appreciate that. So with that being said, the sole source contract, with it being, I guess, my question is, and maybe the attorney can answer this, is there a procurement part? I mean, is there bidding that needs to be done with that, or are we able to?
Well, with a sole source contract, the bidding doesn't need to be done, but this might better be addressed under Commissioner comments, because it's not questions about approval of the minutes.
Okay.
It's questions on kind of the substance of the minutes and the
Right.
substance of the meeting.
Okay, I was just questioning it because it goes under the approval. We were at the point of approval of the minutes, so, but this was already approved though, right?
Yes.
This was, all right, so I was just
Yeah, the
wondering.
resolution was approved.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's why I was bringing it up, because it was already approved and I wanted to know specifications of the approval of, as far as the bid process.
Right.
So I mean, I can wait until we get to that point. I don't have a problem with that, but I think that's it.
Can we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second? Ms. Dixon on the roll for approval of minutes of March 20th, 2025, regular board meeting.
Chairman Vincent,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyna. Commissioner Benning,
I don't know, because I wasn't there, so I'm able, yeah, I have to abstain from that.
and Commissioner Rawls. She has to stay abstain.
She was at that meeting.
Correct, that's why I said she should abstain.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Meeting minutes approved. Moving on to Chairman opening remarks. I'd just like to introduce Commissioner Rawls. This is her first official meeting, and Mrs. Rawls joins us with many volunteer hours in helping our community. She's been on several nonprofits in various roles, and I feel like talking to her, she has a willingness to help us grow our housing here in this, in Michigan City. So welcome, Commissioner Rawls. Any public comment? Anyone here for public comment? Hearing none, we'll move forward with communications. Any communications come in?
I received none on behalf of the House.
Thank you. And reports, Mrs. Dixon?
Yes, our housing choice voucher program manager is not here today, so her report, just a little recap. Our utilization in the voucher program is going down. We're having quite a few people dropping off the program, so we are in anticipation of opening our waiting list in the upcoming months. We're actually just waiting for our website to be up and running. We actually had a training on yesterday on the process of, through our software system, how to take applications when that is up and running. So that's pretty the biggest thing with the voucher program. We have been going through the waiting list. We have about 216 applicants that are still on the waiting list, and we are going through those numbers. Quite frankly, the waiting list, as we've stated in previous months, is it's an old waiting list. And so after someone has been on the waiting list for years and years, their need for housing, or maybe they haven't updated their addresses and so forth, we're just not getting a lot of response from the applicants that are on the waiting list. And so we're just eager. So we're moving through the waiting list, even though we're anticipating opening it. We're getting through the families that are there, but we're needing to open the waiting list so we can get our numbers up. And that's the biggest thing going on with the voucher program, unless you had any specific questions. Oh, and then the next is public house property management. We have our property management report. Desiree Renovales, she's our property manager, beginning their report.
Good afternoon. To deliver the April 2025 board report.
Waiting list for public housing, there is 2,139 applicants.
Can I interject? I'm sorry. So I just wanted to say that that's a big difference from last month. As we've been going through the waiting list to prep for opening the waiting list, we found something. And what we found was, so when you take applicants from the waiting list, they have a different type, they have a status. So you pull them, when they apply, they come through the online process as online status, and they come onto the waiting list as active. And so the active numbers have dwindled to almost nothing. In clarifying that last month, we recognized that we had people that had never been transferred from the previous staff to the active waiting list. And so that's why there's a drastic difference in waiting list applicants for the public housing program. So we didn't take applications. Those were the waiting lists that had never been assisted before. So I just wanted to, that's a big change. It's not a few people, that's a big change. I want to say like a couple thousand. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, and it didn't have anything to do with Desiree. I didn't want her to have to explain that.
Selected from that wait list was 25, withdrawn was 2. Home ownership, there is 159 applicants. Business activity, there's 315 applicants. Moving forward to developments, Lakeland Estates is at 86%. We have vacant units are 7. Boulevard Gardens, we are currently at 81% with vacant units at 19. Harborside Homes, we are 80% with 3 vacant units. Harborside Duplexes, we are at 83% with vacant units of 1. Scattered Sites, we are at 75% with vacant units of 3. Business activities, we are at 71%. Vacant units at 9, move-outs of 1. Work orders, we have received 46, closed 34, total outstanding 428.
So I have one question. Of the selected applicants, you stated that there were 25. So of the 25, I see that new move-ins is 0. How long does it take for the selected participants or applicants well, what's that process then? Because if it's 25 and there's no move-ins, what's, you understand what I'm saying? What's the holdup? What's the delay in having these selected individuals move into units?
So what happens is, so you have the number, you have the people on the waiting list, and once that we do what we call a pull or selected, those are the group that we're getting ready to go to the next step with. So 25 people were pulled in the month of March, because this is March's activity, and so those appointments actually take place on Monday. So what happens is these numbers don't necessarily, so from month to month. So last month, there would have been selected applicants, and so the next step after they're selected from the waiting list is they move to final eligibility. So the next month, you'll see the final eligibility appointments, you'll see those, and then from the final eligibility, who didn't come in, you'll see those people will end up being a new move-in, or you'll see them being withdrawn from the program.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then, so anyway, actually those 25, and the reason we pulled those goes on to later. We have all these units that are about to be ready. And so we selected 25 to be able to cover the vacancies that are here in Boulevard Gardens.
All for me.
Next, we'll have our finance report by Tammy Cook, our finance manager.
Good afternoon, my name is Tammy Cook, and I'll start with a housing choice voucher. HUD provided housing assistance payments, half the funding that we received for the month of December is $162,395. and the housing assistant payment expenses were $165,806. The HCV operation reserves is still at $368,504.97, and the administrative fees that we earned were $15,588. And their voucher management system was submitted timely and on schedule. For business activities, we had a positive net income for the month of December, and non-federal business activity reserves remains in a favorable position. Public housing, the operating expenses outpaced the operating income. We continue to reduce the tenant accounts receivables. We sent out statements for a second month and continuing to balance those statements with the customers. We did tenants who came in and had issues with their statements. We were able to find payments that the previous administration had taken for the rent, but they never posted it to their accounts. So we are still working on that, and we will continue to send out statements and late notices to tenants, improve vacant unit turnaround time frames, and capital funds projects are still in motion. Any questions? Thank you.
Next you'll find part of the finance report, our list of the bills that were paid in the month of March. Those are the next three items.
I do have a question, or a couple questions on that. So I see for 606 Cedar Street, for the NIPSCO bill, it was $11,187.59. Why, that is, to me, I mean, that's one unit, is that correct?
It's not one, so 606 Cedar Street, it's, the NIPSCO bill may come in saying 606 Cedar, but it's not just one bill. And Tammy can confirm that.
Okay. No, it's not one bill.
It's a plethora of units.
Yes. Yeah, it's not just one unit.
Is that the address of record for all units here?
I'll have to actually get back to you so I can look at it, pull the statement and see what's going on there, but I know that we didn't pay 11,000 to 606.
So when we get the NIPSCO bills, they have an address on them, but they're for more than one unit out here, so we get another one for 621, but Tammy can pull those bills if you need to see them.
Okay, and then while you're up here, Tammy, so for the NIPSCO bill for 320 Carwick, is that the same? Is that
Yes.
just the building
That's just
number
the-
with several units?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
because that's awfully high as well.
And do you have a breakdown in your office, like to know which each
Each unit,
unit is pulling? Because that's a good point. It'd be nice for us to know
yeah.
if one unit is using a lot of electricity for some reason.
No.
NIPSCO doesn't give that report that way?
That report that way. No.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's all for me.
All right, for the director's report, First of all, I have to say Happy Fair Housing Month. Yes, I'm a nerd. Yes. It's okay. And I also keep track of Fair Housing Month because I have to I just have to put this on the record. I've worked in housing this month for 26 years, so I always commemorate my anniversary into housing. So no one's excited about that but me. But that's okay. I hope everyone enjoyed the Mayor's Gala. Thank you, Commissioner Vinson, for putting that on the forefront. The staff and the commissioners had a good time, so thank you for that. There's not a lot, but a lot going on in the month of March. One of the things, we started the lawn care. We had at our last meeting, I believe I mentioned that those contracts were signed. In the month of March, they came and did spring cleaning. I pulled up at work and I had to do a double take when I drove around because there was so many trucks. I thought something had happened. And when I looked around, it was actually landscaping trucks. And then from my office, I could see the men in yellow jackets just all over the area, picking and cleaning. And when I tell you, I think they got almost every leaf. It seemed like there were piles and piles of leaves. So that started, and it was really exciting for us. We did a contract for copiers. As you can see, when you look at our board reports, they don't look all that great. So we should have new copiers by the next board meeting. So hopefully that will improve. Just trying to
Ms. Dixon?
I'm sorry.
If you said, can I get the name of the lawn care company? Who was that?
Servicescape.
Servicescape, thank you.
So they are working in Boulevard Gardens as well as Lakeland. And also just to say how well they did of a job, we actually had a vacant unit person left, did notify the Housing Authority, and I happened to drive by one evening and I saw that there was quite a bit of garbage outside. Before maintenance could get to it the next day, Servicescape had picked most of it up without a complaint or anything. So I don't expect that to, that's not our expectation of them, but that's just how they went over the top. Part of the contract was to do a spring cleaning. So we're really excited about that. I will begin the annual plan process. That is due to HUD in July. So that is where most of my focus will be in the next 30 days. As Tammy mentioned a bit with her report regarding the TARs, our tenant accounts receivables are just way too high. We have a large number of tenants who are not paying rent on time, and so we know that that is definitely an issue when it comes to the Housing Authority status with HUD. We have to reduce our accounts receivables, and so part of that is, first of all, making sure that tenants have accurate statements. So we've been working, prior to sending statements out, we have been working to reconcile them and are still working with tenants that have any issues as they come in to have those balances corrected, so that we can begin having our payments, those reduced. We're also willing to do repayment agreements with families. Our intention is not to, have more vacancies, but to really work with the clients who are willing to work with the Housing Authority. And so that's pretty much what I have for the month of March. Most of it will go into my resolution regarding the work for the vacant units. I believe I was told that they will have, as you can see, this truck out here is part of there's been a noticeable presence here with us. They will have 10 units ready, I believe, by Monday, and then hopefully the other 7 or so due by the end of next week. So that's the press for us to get them leased, and then they will move on to Lakeland. And that's really all I have for my director's report, unless you all had some questions.
The landscaping, they're going to be permanent here?
Yes, we have a contract for this year, so.
Okay.
Are they gonna do snow removal as well, or?
It's just grass cutting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just grass cutting, so we'll try again. We weren't successful last year, and so the maintenance team did all the snow removal. Thankful we didn't have too bad of a winter, but we will be actively working to see if we can get a snow removal company for next year. Attorney?
Nothing for the attorney's report for this month.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. Resolution 2025-05, authorization to approve public housing vacancy reduction change order.
So after you all had approved the units for last month, we found that there were several units that were vacant. And I hate to say this, but that that no one knew were vacant. So they came up, and some of those units are, have quite an extensive rehab needed. So I wanted to add those to our contract while they're already here. And that is 301 Vale, 418 North Dixon, 1117 and a half Spring Street, and 320 Carwick. Actually, I think some of these units became vacant right as the 320 Carwick is actually the unit I was referring to when I spoke of the trash. There was just as much out as there was in the unit. And so we wanted to add those to the contract because, as you can see, it's quite extensive. The other thing, I know the cost for these units it's quite a bit. It's $127,000, almost $128,000. I do want to say with the contract that was approved last month, in talking with HUD, when units are vacant, they are going to a status with HUD. They show as vacant. Once a unit is in vacant more than 60 days, it alerts HUD and they want us to do something about it. And we've had units that have been vacant for years. And so what I had to do was, once we got the contract in, we had to go by one in HUD's system to show that now that vacancy is approved to be vacant because it's under contract being fixed. In doing so, I was a little surprised to find out, our HUD representative, Valerie, contacted me and said she had a couple questions about a few of the units that were vacant. Well, unbeknownst to me, there were probably, let me see, there's about 5 units in the home ownership program that were listed on my previous contract because they were vacant units that needed to be rehabbed. But according to HUD, these units have been removed from HUD's inventory quite some time ago. And so, therefore, we would not be receiving any HUD subsidy for these 5 units. And so, these 5 units will have to come out of the original contract because I'm not able to pay for them with public housing funding because according to HUD, they are no longer public housing. And so Attorney Rags and I have discussed this, and we're going to see what we can do to move them over to our business activity or however that process may look. But in the meantime, to maybe take away some of the hurt of this added $128,000, there will be 5 units that will be removed from the original contract. And so the idea is we will then move those units over to business activity and pay for those rehabs in business activity. Okay. And so I had this discussion with 2 HUD reps, and we all laughed together because we just couldn't believe it. When I called Attorney Rags, he said, "We're like, it was unbelievable." And the reason that is because basically, in order for a unit to be removed from public housing inventory, there is a large process, a lengthy process that has to go through what we consider a Section 18, a demo dispo. And when a demo dispo has been done, then the unit is gone. And this is just a guess, and it's just a guess on my part. Because these are home ownership units, the idea is that they would have been sold. So I don't know if there was something that fell through on the Housing Authority's part at some point that they were not sold. But all I do know is that HUD does not consider them public housing. And so therefore there is no subsidy or capital funds that can be used for these units. And so HUD is working to get whatever paperwork they have, and Rachel and I will be digging through some closets to see what paperwork we can find to support what has happened. But and I was very nervous, but maybe this isn't appropriate for me to say, but I'm going to say it. But I thank God that it was caught when it was, because it stopped us from actually paying for units with funding that we shouldn't have. So we would have had to reimburse it to business activities, but it was stopped beforehand. And so,
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
You're saying that's like a big red flag in my head.
Oh, yeah.
to hear that. So if they're, because of the time frame, and HUD is no longer considering them in their inventory, they're just out there? I mean, HUD, Housing Authority has the deed for those properties, right? Is that correct? I mean,
According to HUD, it's owned by the Housing Authority. According to HUD, they've been removed from inventory. So they're the housing authorities, they're just not subsidized.
okay.
And we have a DOT following that?
Well, the DOT would make them housing authority property. You put a DOT on after an acquisition proposal, you put them in the PIC, and then that's when you get subsidy for it. Then you'd have to do a Section 13 disposition. You get dispo approved, you take them out of PIC, you get DDTF funds for 5 years. And if you're not getting any subsidy, that means it's likely that these were taken out of inventory over 5 years ago. If you're no longer getting that particular subsidy. But the housing authority would still own them, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Just for the public, they don't know DOT, DDT, they don't know all of that. So for the public that's watching and hearing that, oh, wow, they're not in the housing authority's inventory, that's basically stating still, they belong to housing authority. It's just the type of programming that will be covered for
Correct.
those housings.
Correct. Sorry if I scared anyone. Well, it was a little bit taken back. But again, we were just very happy that we caught it when we did. And they are, like I said, they are vacant. And so part of the resolution, I actually had 2 resolutions, and I'm going to have to strike B. And so what the second resolution was to add these 5 properties remove them from the public housing contract and add them to business activity. And I just haven't gotten that information from the construction, from the contractor at this point.
So are they these units that are listed here in this current resolution?
No, so I have 2 situations going on. So the first resolution that we're discussing is to add on the public housing vacant units that we didn't know were vacant. So that's adding those on. But the other 5 are going to come out of that contract, and they're going to have to be transferred over to business activity. And so the second resolution was to add them to the business activity contract, but I don't have the documents from the contractor at this point. So I'll have to put that on pause.
Okay, so for the resolution 2025-5, it's these homes that are listed. I wasn't part, and I know you guys already voted and approved the last resolution, which this is under that umbrella,
Correct.
right? So and I wasn't a part of that. My question is, again, because I asked about under the minutes that I was asking about that last resolution. Because you state here that it's Unique and Partners Consults LLC company was awarded the contract. You were saying that it did not need to go through the procurement, through the bidding process?
Correct. So in doing procurement, there are various steps that you have to go through based on the amount of procurement. However, you can get approval from HUD for what's known as a sole source provider and not go through the actual procurement process. There are various reasons that HUD would give you sole source authorization. In this particular instance, HUD gave sole source authorization due to the emergency nature of the rehab and the timing that was necessary to get these funds allocated to a project.
Okay. So with that being said, also, how did we come up with Unique and Partners Consults? They're not a local company?
No, they're not. They're out of Indianapolis.
How did we, and why did we not find someone that's local in our area?
It was a sole source, and so with sole source, it was emergency, just pick one. And they came recommended, so I just.
There was nothing in this area? No
It
company
was,
in this area that was sole source?
I can't get anyone in this area to do almost anything. I mean, to be honest with you, I asked for a contractor to put doors in. I mean, it's been very, very difficult, and Rachel could attest to that. Just getting anyone who, and they started, I think we did the board meeting and they started the next Monday. So yeah, that was just.
And I'm glad that we have someone doing that, but I mean, if we're trying to plug into and make ourselves known to be partners with companies, agencies, organizations in this area to get someone from somewhere
Absolutely.
else doesn't look really good, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think that our contractors in the area too have to be resourceful and do the homework up front and to get on those lists, not wait back for a request for quote or something to come out in the newspaper. And that's what these folks did. They've done work for HUD before. That's why they got on the list. That's why HUD approved them and made the timing unique for our unique timing. It helped with us
Okay,
to go in and do
you
it.
know that?
I don't
that
know these
statement you
folks
just
at
said.
all.
No, I'm not saying that. With the comment you just said, the agencies around, organizations, companies around here need to make themselves available and do their homework and whatnot. Do we know that no agency, no companies around here have not done that?
I do not, no.
Okay, so you're just
No.
saying that?
Well, it's, the sole source is a preferred vendor list, I'll say just, and that's where they come from. HUD just didn't pick them out of the telephone book. They had them as a sole source before as well. They've done work with HUD, so that's why they approved them as a sole source to do our project. And that's why they come all the way from Indianapolis, because no one else in the area can provide that service, nor were they on the sole service list.
So Ms. Dixon, did HUD pick the list or did you
They
pick?
they didn't pick, it was just a recommendation. It was just a
So,
recommendation.
we're gonna say that they-
Yeah, it was,
okay.
it was a recommendation.
It was a recommendation and you picked it.
And I would think that almost everything that we do try to find Michigan City contractors, whether it's food, whether it's whatever it is, we try to find Michigan City. But again, only because of the emergency nature and the amount of capital funds that was at risk of being lost was over $1 million. It was just, they were able to get in really quickly, a larger company. I mean, they came in on that Monday. They came out, I think right before the board meeting, I was able to get an estimate. And so is this the norm, how we would normally do business? No, we would go through the procurement process, but it was just, again, it was two things, the emergency nature of how long the units had been vacant and the risk of losing the funding.
And I commend you on all of that, and I commend them for coming in. I'm just asking because this area, we know we have a lot of local contractors in this area. I don't know about them being sole contractors, but, I mean, I'm just curious on if we do have any sole contractors. in this area.
We're willing to work with anyone, so if there's anyone who wants to contact us, but I'm just be honest with you, and Rachel's the executive assistant, she can attest to this, for almost any contract that we've tried to get, as soon as I say Michigan City Housing Authority, they say no thank you. And so it was just, again, that's why we didn't have snow removal. The lawn care, we barely got. Yeah, it was a lot of no thank yous. It
For
was,
lawn care?
yeah, I had to submit, the lawn care went through a bidding process, and we emailed contractors, and I had to put that out at least, I want to say 3 times before I got the submissions that I received.
That's interesting, okay.
So moving back to,
For clarification, I'm sorry. The 5 houses that you mentioned, they were not on the list for the one where we approved the other one, right? So they came up afterwards, is that what you're saying?
So what happened is, in our software system, they were showing as vacant. So when we did the contract, they were included. When, after the contract was approved, we have to go into the HUD software and change the status. So that's something that has to be done between myself and the HUD rep.
Okay.
And when we were trying to change the status, honestly, we couldn't find these 5 units. We couldn't find them in the system. And so I kept looking and searching, and when I found them as removed from inventory, demo disposed.
Okay.
And so they had already been removed from inventory more than likely quite some time ago. And so I want to remove those five units will not be paid out of public housing. We caught that in enough time. And so what I want to do, which was actually the second resolution for another time, is to take those 5 units that were in the public housing contract and then move them over to business activity, because they cannot be paid for out of public housing. And then the other 4 units that I'm adding in the resolution 2025-05 is just units that that came up vacant after we did the contract. So it's 2 sets of vacancies. So the resolution before you is to just add 4 vacant public housing units that we know are public housing.
So just to make the board comfortable and so we all understand, the resolution 2025-4, which we approved last meeting, was for the units in question. Out of those units in question, there's going to be some come out.
Correct.
So the cost that we approved for last meeting for resolution -4 is going to be less than what we approved for.
Correct.
Now, the change order that we're approving now is going to be for the cost of the units that we're adding.
Correct.
So when the project is complete and finished, the math is going to work out that our approval amount and the charged amount is going to be considerably less.
So I don't know that per se. So they gave me a cost for the units that I'm adding, which is the 127.
Correct.
So I don't know if the level of rehab is exactly the same, but I'm taking out 5 units and I'm adding 4 to the public housing contract. And then for the resolution, just for clarification, it may be, so last month, it should have been a resolution, I think, 203 and 04. So we had 2 resolutions last month. One was for public housing and one was for business activity. So the one for public housing will remove 5 units and then add the 4.
Okay? I guess the question in my mind is, if you remove the 4, then you have resolution that we approved last meeting minus 4.
It'll be minus 5. So I believe that last month it was 32 units, 33 or 32 units. So 33. So 5 of those are going to be removed.
And the cost of doing those
And
will be
the cost
removed as well.
of doing those will be removing. And then the 4 I'm adding. I just don't have the exact cost of I was waiting for that from the contractor, but I don't have that.
Okay.
I don't have just the cost of those 5, but those will be removed from.
We know the cost of the ones we're removing.
We know the cost. Yes, well, the cost, the cost of the ones. Right. So the cost of the ones that we're removing.
I went to Rogers, I'm sorry.
The cost of the 5 that we're removing were part of the 593, whatever that dollar amount was. These 5 units were included in the cost that was approved last month.
Yes.
So those 5 units are going to be removed, and the cost
Yes.
are going to be removed from that contract, and then I need to add 4 units, and then the cost of that. They may not be equal. I don't know that portion.
Okay, so we've already
But what I
approved-
do know is how much I'm going to add.
Right.
Okay,
And how much I'm going to add is the 120, almost 128.
is the board following? Does it- I'm still,
It's okay. I know it's confusing. But so there will be 5 from the old contract that will go away, and their cost. It will equal something. I don't have the exact breakdown of those units, but those units have already been approved in the PHA resolution from last month.
but the approved dollar amount is staying the same from last month.
It may not.
Possibly not.
Yeah.
That was my original question, is when the final cost comes in, are we gonna make that all right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I'm waiting for them to tell me the exact cost of the 5 that are being removed.
And then these, you have the 4 that you're adding right here. I'm
Correct.
looking at them, right?
But you also had that same printout of the 5 that you're gonna remove. That, it was detailed last month.
You're correct, but I don't know the exact, so I don't know the exact number of those 5. I have a total for all the 33 units was $593 something thousand. But I just.
But I thought they were listed out individually, just like
Listen, like
this.
all 33
They-
were listed
they-
like this?
Yes and no. I'm more confusing. The labor, so on these show the material and the labor individually. The last one that you received last month had the material and the labor was grouped at the end. So I don't know the exact labor for this unit. I know the exact cost of the materials, but I don't know the cost of the labor.
Right.
So if you want me to figure it out, we're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. Next meeting.
Exactly.
Don't
So-
get me involved, because you've seen how this has went so far. Okay, all right, I'm set.
Chairman Vincent, you're about to
Yeah,
confuse me. No, I'm just teasing. But,
I'm all set.
so yes, so
Okay.
I don't know the exact, yes, I do know the material, I do know the material cost, but I don't know the labor. So I don't have an exact dollar amount, but I do know that some are gonna be removed. But I wanted to make sure while they're working that I can add the new ones so there's no stoppage, so that we can go ahead and add these.
We don't let them leave town until those are done.
Correct, and so
Okay.
next they're going to Lakeland, and so then we'll be able to, we haven't started scatter sites, which all of this is scatter sites.
Okay, very good. Any other questions or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Me out. Me too, and I don't know who's here to
Oh,
answer.
that's fine. I'm sorry for
No.
lingering on that.
No, you're fine.
All right.
Chairman Benson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rayner. Commissioner Benning,
Aye.
Commissioner Greer,
Aye.
Commissioner Ross. And then B, we're not gonna worry about today.
Okay. Good, I'm tired.
Me too.
Okay, moving on to, any other new business? That's it?
No, that's it.
Okay, we'll move on to commissioners' comments. Please remember 3-minute limit on commissioner comments. Commissioner Benning?
So, I just have, 2 things. One, I'm just wanting to inquire about the HUD monitoring compliance, report. What's the status of that?
That was submitted to HUD quite some time ago, so I'm just working through, what we,
In its entirety?
yeah, so the response was sent to HUD, so I'm just working through, so like getting the personnel plan, was one, the bank, so I'm working on the banking, RFP, for, because we need to, that wasn't procured properly, so we're working on that. So yes, one by one, part of it was the tenant file, so we're working on that. Yeah, all of that was submitted. It's not complete because I'm not Superwoman. No, it's not complete because I'm not, but what it was to identify what the steps that would be taken and what needed to be done and what the goal date of when that needed to be done. So like for the admin plan, still working to get that completed, update the personnel plan. Again, the banking was one of the issues, is because they hadn't been procured. We've had the same bank for quite a while. So we actually put that RFP out already, and we're waiting for responses and so forth.
Okay. And then the last thing is, I saw you the other day and, well, actually Wednesday,
Yes.
and I had to pick up a piece of my mail, and you had and I noticed the door was closed, and maybe I'm out of the loop, but the authority was closed, so I wasn't aware that it was closed on Wednesdays. And you said it had been closed since January?
Yeah, we started on January 15th. We advertised in December. We put up notices that we will begin to close on Wednesdays. So the office is open to, it's just not open to the public. So we're here working. It's just a work day for the Housing Authority.
Okay. I just didn't know if it had come before the board, if we were made aware of it. That was the first time, and I had know it was like January.
Rachel and I had actually discussed it, and when we put the flyers up, it wasn't part of the board packet because there wasn't anything that needs to be approved, but I believe it was just a flyer that was added at your desk just to let you be, aware that it was closing.
Other than that, that's it.
Okay.
Commissioner Greer, you have anything?
The McWright and Associates, are they the ones who's doing the inspection of the housing inspections?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know at this point how many they've done?
Oh, you know what? On the voucher reports, I don't know exactly how many they've done because this is only going to reflect for the month, but our numbers have gone down. If you look at the overall activity where it says pick late inspections, we only have 76 late inspections. At one point, I think we had over 300. Right. So that is coming down.
And we've been passing those inspections?
Yeah, no. So that's not the housing authority passing. Those are the landlords for the HCV program.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, those are the landlords for the HCV
Yeah,
program.
I know that.
So we're just happy that they're taking place. And so there was a little bit of starting that with McWright was people were not used to having the inspections and then maybe having the quality of inspection that's been done. McWright is a national company who works a little bit everywhere in doing inspections, and so it's been smooth, but a lot smoother lately. But there was a little bit of a transition for everybody, and it's okay.
Are we have those inspection reports on our file, and are we responsible for going back, or is that?
So what happens in the HCV program, there's a requirement to have an inspection done when a client moves into the unit. The Housing Authority, per their administrative plan, can do one or two things. You can do annual inspections or you can do biannual inspections. And so the way our plan is written as of now, we're supposed to do annual inspections. So the inspector has to do, the Housing Authority has to conduct an inspection once a year. And then when the Housing Authority, so that's the first requirement. And then once the unit, if it passes, the landlord, is given 30 days to make any repairs. If it doesn't pass within those 30 days, then the Housing Authority can start what we call the abatement process. And it gives the landlord, it actually stops the landlord's portion of HAP. So the Housing Authority stops paying their portion to the landlord. The tenant continues to pay theirs. If the items are remediated within the time of the abatement, which is about, I think, 60 days, then we can continue with the contract. So for example, if an abatement period will begin April 1 and the landlord completed the repairs April 15th, then the Housing Authority will resume payment April 15th through the end of the month. We wouldn't go back and pay for the 1st through the 15th. And the tenant is not responsible for what we did not pay, as long as it's our portion. And then if the landlord does not complete the repairs within the abatement period, then we process the tenant to move to another unit.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So we keep the inspections in the tenant files, but it's not.
Tracking this.
Yes, they have.
Okay.
They have to be tracked per HUD.
Okay, very good. Sorry, Commissioner Gray, I stole a lot of your time.
Oh, sorry.
Anything,
Forgot who asked the question.
And the inspection for here in Lakeland would be,
So those aren't the same
I
inspections.
understand it. So how often will those be? Since we're rehabbing these new units, I'm sure you want to keep them up to par.
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, with that, part of that, the answer to that is our property management. If working to enforce the lease, we've already begun doing housekeeping inspections, which is not the same type of inspection as that. But what happens is those inspections are actually done by HUD, and they will notify us, and those are called REAC inspections. They will notify us when they come out on an annual basis, and I believe REAC inspections are paused at this point, so I don't have a date as to when HUD will come out, but that's a different type of inspection. We're not responsible for that, but the property manager can go out and inspect our units, and as we're seeing things that are incorrect, getting them done. Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Rawls, do you have anything?
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for making me a part of the group here. And I was just wondering about, I know you said that you had contractors that's going to be coming in to do, do inspection and all that stuff and work. But I was wondering are they going to be included in some of the roofing projects that need to be done on the, like on the west side when they had a lot of that roofing damage?
So what'll happen is I'm actually getting ready to work on the annual plan as well as our 5-year plan. And at that point, we'll assess what type of major projects that need to be done. And that has to be done with our plan. So that inspection is not the same thing if I'm understanding the question.
But anyways, my second question is, like when you do it, when you have the people from business activity that's going to be, like the houses that you got vacant, well, some of the people that already live in those, will they be able to, if somebody wanted to move or whatever, would they be able to get a choice at one of the properties, or are there just going to be new people?
It can be a little bit of both. If there's a reason that we need to move, business activities is not under the HUD guidelines, so they don't have the same reasons to move. Maybe like with public housing, if you're underhoused or overhoused, then you need to be moved based on the size of your household. So that's something that could be discussed. If there's a need for the person to move, they can contact the property manager.
That's all. Okay.
Commissioner Reyna, anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, I have no comments. Looking for a motion to adjourn?
We look
All in
stressed.
favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.